Live. We're
We're
live.
we're live.
We're here. The buttons have been pushed.
Buttons have been pushed. Okay. Um, all right. So now that the buttons have been pushed, we've had some feedback after yesterday's live stream, just before we start the show proper, right?
Mhm.
We've talked about it a little bit. Is there anything we need to know before we launch into today's conversation?
I don't think so. I know that I'm trying to see who's here. Brian's here. Susan's here. Donna. Yeah. If you guys that are in the chat have any follow-up or anything, let us know. What Pete's talking about is this is definitely a topic that I think people want to discuss and talk about and learn more about. It was definitely a hot discussion topic in GPS today. So yeah, if there's any follow-up or anything, please let us know in the chat. But I think we can go ahead and just get started.
All right. Well,
Yeah, I'm
here we
ready.
go.
Ready.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Taking Control, the ADHD podcast on True Story FM. I didn't start my local recording. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Taking Control, the ADHD podcast on True Story FM. I'm Pete Wright, and right there is Nikki Kinzer. Beep, beep, boop, boop.
Beep, beep, boop, boop. Hello, Pete AI.
Hello, Nikki AI. This is part 2 of our AI conversation. A lovely talk yesterday. Do you feel like
Yes.
this is a little bit out of sorts because we recorded that episode? Normally, it's like 2 weeks later when it goes live. We're doing some schedule shakeup. So today, as we record part 2, we just recorded part 1 yesterday, but it'll be a week before you hear it.
Right.
It's an ADHD scheduling thing.
Yes.
The thing is that it's only a day later. So I want to ask you, given that day, how do you feel about the conversation that we had yesterday?
I feel like there is so much I don't know.
Have you?
But I feel like I learned a lot. I do.
Okay.
I feel like there's a more of an understanding of AI for me. And what's so strange is I was talking about it with my family yesterday, and my husband said, "Oh yeah, I've been using Perplexity." I'm like, "How do you even know what this is?" Like, okay.
Yeah.
That was random. He'd heard about it from his cousin, and his cousin thought it was like the best thing ever. And so he was telling me about it. So I just thought that was like I thought it was ironic that
It's very funny.
Yeah. But no, I'm excited about today too, to learn even more.
Good. Me too. And I think I think we can just jump in. I want to start where we ended yesterday, and I can't remember if we ended in the show proper or if it was in the members post chat, where we were talking about context, right? Setting up and giving the AI, when you're using AI, giving it context to know who you want it to be and who it should be and who you are and who it's responding as. And so I want to dig in a little bit more on what I'm talking about when we talk about that context.
Right.
The term that we're looking for is prompt engineering, right? That's what we're doing when we are defining what those prompts are. And I'm going to shout out to Matt from Down Under, who said Pete should talk about prompt engineering. That's what he was talking about yesterday. Well, that's true. That's what I was talking about. And I was just giving it a little bit of a brief. Here's prompt engineering in short. It's more of an art than a science, I think, of crafting effective prompts to get the best responses from AI language models like ChatGPT and Claude and Perplexity. So you think of it as giving clear and precise instructions to a highly intelligent assistant. How you ask a question or structure a request will significantly affect the quality of that response. So as a beginner, you're sitting down at the ChatGPT prompt. You just need to understand that how AI interprets language and how it uses that knowledge to guide your response is really, really helpful. It's an incredibly powerful skill, and I think it's important to really be cognizant of trial and error as you're using your different prompts. Like write them out in a separate note and copy and paste them as you change them so you can see what works, what doesn't. Here are some key aspects you want to think about when you're looking at prompt engineering. First, clarity and specificity. The clearer your prompt, the better the response. Instead of just saying, hey, tell me about, space. We've talked about my, third grade paper where I was asked to write a research paper. My first research paper, I said space. Well, that's a little broad, and I did not do well on that paper. Instead of saying, tell me about space, say, explain how black holes form in simple terms, right? Telling it, give it some real specificity. What about space are you looking to? So that's number one. Number two, context and constraints. Providing background or setting limits in your prompt can refine AI responses. So, for instance, summarize this article in 3 sentences and paste a URL into your response works better than just, hey, summarize this or summarize this page, right? I say
Okay.
things all the time, like, I need a tight 2-sentence summary of this web page, right? Just for
Yeah.
normally, it's because I've written a long web page and I just paste it all into AI and I say, summarize this into tight 2 sentences so I can use it for, the preview box on a web page or something like that. Like it just
Mm-hmm.
makes it very, very easy. So that's number 2. Give it context and constraints. Number 3, ask for step-by-step instructions, right? So breaking down the request can really, really improve results. So, for example, first, explain what AI is. Then, give an example of how AI is used in daily life. You see what I did there? Not just explain AI, but I want you to first give me a background of what AI is, and then give me an example of how AI is used in daily life. Now, another example, I have a very long prompt. It's got maybe 60 bullets in it. And it is what I call my AI film report. And I use it in Perplexity. It's like pages long. It's a very, very long prompt. And I have it sitting in, guess where? See if you can guess where I store it.
I'm gonna guess in 1Password.
1Password, Nikki, it's Text Expander. It's
Text
Text Expander.
expander. Oh my
Oh my
gosh.
God.
I don't know where 1Password came from.
Where did that come from?
I
No.
don't know. I
So
was trying to think of somewhere safe, and 1Password
to
is
be
safe. It's safe.
Oh, excuse me. No, it's Text Expander. So in Text Expander, I go into my AI partner, Perplexity, and I say, bracket AI dot film report. And then it pops up a little window and it says, what's the movie you're talking about? I type in the movie name and then I hit return and it pastes this giant film report with specific questions about cinematography and about all of the things that I want, just a bulleted list to allow me to use that to build my show outline for the show without having to go to 4 or 5 different websites and cobble this from Call Sheet and this from IMDb and this from the movie database and this from Box Office Mojo. It just finds all of the resources and I tell it what to do, where to go, all of those things. And then it
Right.
gives me a full report. And I save that report in my notes app, Obsidian in this case. And now I have sections that tell me exactly, here's what you need to know about this movie. Here's who made it. Here's what that was going on when they were making it. Here's a set of the general public opinion of the movie. And it's all organized in a beautiful, beautiful way. So that I think this is all prompt engineering, working on giving the bot deliberate, intentional, and specific prompts is huge. Now, so those are the first 3, right? Clarity and
Okay.
specificity, context and constraints, step-by-step instructions. Number 4, experiment and iterate. This is a trial and error process, and really small tweaks in wording can yield vastly different results. That's what I mean by, as you're experimenting with the prompts, you want to get, just the right answers, put it in a note so you can copy and paste and tweak and change and and see how it iterates over time. And I think what you will find is that you'll get to one, and that's the one you put in Text Expander because it's perfect. And
Right.
it's okay. It's saved you a ton of time going forward. Number 5, role play. Uh, you gotta tell AI to take on a persona, like a teacher or a scientist or a journalist, and doing that can lead to really rich responses.
So I have
Um,
a question about that because this is
yeah.
what part of the conversation that I had with my family yesterday.
Mhm,
Uh, I was trying to talk to my daughter about what you're saying here. And
mhm,
I said, one of the things I learned from Pete is that you tell AI who they are and then
mhm.
you ask the question. And we were trying to figure out because her question is, she's putting the study guide into AI and then she wants a practice test. She wants the AI to put together a practice test. So is the question, or I mean, I'm sorry, is the AI being the student or is the AI the professor who's putting
Oh,
together?
I think that's a great question. In my experience, the AI is always the expert, right?
So,
So
okay.
the professor. So you are a professor of psychology at the
Psychology.
university level,
Yes.
and I need you to help me build a study guide or a set of flashcards or whatever, and do it in a way that you would expect me as the student to learn, right? And then you
Okay.
have this AI professor who is teaching you the way the professor wants you to learn. Now, I'm sure there are people listening to this who are saying, "But AI isn't a professor," right? No, it's
Right.
not. It is not a professor, but it is going to approximate the experience of working with a professor because it understands it has already taken in all of the works of professors of psychology and
Right.
all of the writing of professors of psychology and therapists and clinicians and the work. So it has that data. If you tell it who it is, it will change its perspective, its worldview, and help you that much better.
Good to know.
And I
That's what we thought. So
Yeah,
I just have to
that's right.
say
You were right.
kudos. We got the
Yeah.
right answer.
And I wanna say I'm vastly anthropomorphizing AI, like, it will help you. I'm saying it again, it's not a person, it's a tool. It's a
Right.
wrench. Just like a wrench will help me with my plumbing, my glasses help me with my face. Uh, my my AI helps me with my cognitive load, right? And
Right.
helps me structure my ideas. That's
Yeah.
what we're using here. So prompt engineering is super important. It helps really maximize kind of how you're using AI, maximizing its potential. And with something like Text Expander, it can really help you automate tasks. Things that you do over and over and over again. If you get just the right prompt, you can really save yourself time. So that's prompt engineering. That sort of puts a cap on where we left yesterday. And
Mhm.
now we can talk about um, the problem with AI.
Chapter 3.
Chapter 3, the problem with AI. I feel like this is such a fraught topic, right? AI, because there are uh, uh, populations that feel very strongly about how the AI is trained and written and biases that are deeply built inside of it. And I just want to reflect a minute on some of the major concerns because it really is a double-edged sword. And instead of helping, it can, just like any other tool, become a distraction in
Yes.
your life with ADHD. So uh, I, I think the same rule applies to any of these AI bots, to any of the other productivity tools that we use. If it's costing you more time to actually tweak and use and play with it that you don't have, then it's probably not going to be a part of your perfect system. And you may not ever actually figure out how to use it. Or you may get answers that don't meet your needs or expectations because you haven't been able to invest in learning how to engineer your prompts better and get the right answers. But it takes deep experimentation, no matter how complex your system, whether you're just looking to break down a packing list or whether you're using to write a new app for your phone, right? Like you can use it for a vast swath of projects, but you also have to be able to build in the training, the learning
Mhm.
time to figure out how it works. Then you have the group that really believes AI is the end of humanity.
Mhm.
And I know that seems like probably a big statement, but
It's pretty big. Yeah.
there is the rationalist groups are they don't care for AI. And this is a group that is their figurehead is a guy by the name of Eliezer Yudkowsky, who actually wrote a delightful fan fiction that is 1,000 pages long on Harry Potter, on approaching Harry Potter from the perspective of a rationalist and not a fanaticist. Like, what if you approached the magical wizarding world of Harry Potter as a scientist, and it becomes funny and absurd, and it's really, really great. Eliezer Yudkowsky also says this of AI: the AI does not hate you, nor does it love you, but you are made out of atoms, which it can use for something else. By far, the greatest danger of artificial intelligence is that people conclude too early that they understand it.
Mm.
That's a pretty big statement, and it comes along with a thought experiment that they call the paperclip problem. And the paperclip problem is thus: we develop an AI that is, we'll just say, more intelligent than we are. And we say, hey, AI, go make a paperclip. Go figure out how to make paperclips. And the AI goes forth and figures out how to make paperclips. And because AI is smarter than us, it actually figures out ways to use materials that we may have never thought of to make paperclips. And
Mhm.
because its one job is to make paperclips, all other jobs become subservient to its efforts to make paperclips. And eventually, it becomes so intelligent that we become material for making new paperclips, and
Oh,
thus
no.
ends humanity.
Oh, dear. Okay. That went
So,
to a dark place.
right. Right. It doesn't take very long to do that. And I'm not saying anything to judge the rationalist perspective on AI, because there are legitimate concerns about what AI can do to humanity. I personally don't share those concerns to the same level. I'm more concerned about things like, could AI exacerbate decision paralysis? Could AI, cause the muscles that I use for my own cognitive load to weaken because I'm not, because I make choices to take the lazy way out and have AI write all of my, show notes versus me actually writing, you know, and remembering how to write and string words together over time. And
Right.
every one of us has to make that individual choice. It is an individual choice what you use the AI to do. And we have to confront that, because AI, like it or not, is going to nudge your behavior because of dopamine, y'all. Like, it is
Yeah.
enormously satisfying when AI solves a problem for us. It's
Mhm.
incredibly satisfying. And when that problem is solved, we kind of want to throw more problems at it.
Right.
And
Right.
just like any other tool, it can become a dependency. And so I say all that knowing that when the newspaper was in wide distribution, people said this is the death of everything, because everybody is holding their newspaper up. When TV was going to destroy our brains, rot our brains, everybody having a cell phone, that was going to be a disaster. Every generation has its thing. This maybe is the biggest thing we've ever run into. And if you don't yet understand why it's the biggest thing we've ever run into, it may be because you haven't used it enough yet. And that's the catch 22, right?
Mm. Mhm.
Because in order to understand how impactful this will be on humanity, you have to use it to that point to become experienced and enamored by it. And
Right.
there you go. So it
Wow.
brings us to this next chapter, chapter 4, how to
Chapter
use
4.
AI without losing yourself.
Mm.
So the Goldilocks zone, the Goldilocks zone? I love the Goldilocks zone.
It rang a bell, but you're gonna have to refresh my memory because it's I don't
You
have a great
refresh my
memory.
memory. What was Goldilocks about?
Well, Goldilocks was the 3 little bears, right?
Hmm.
No, is that Goldilocks?
And what
Yeah.
Goldilocks and the Three Bears? What happened?
Yeah. And so each little bear went to each house and slept in the bed, right?
No,
And
it
ate the
was the
porridge.
bear's. It was the bear's house.
Honestly, I don't
Goldilocks
remember.
slept in the 3 beds, right? So
Oh, was that what it
Goldilocks,
was? Oh, I got
yeah,
it flipped around.
yeah, yeah. These
Goldilocks
are
slept in the each of the beds
Yeah,
and ate
and
the
they
porridge.
came home, "There's somebody in my bed. Somebody's been sleeping in my bed," said the littlest bear, and eventually, the
Ah,
bed that was the just right was the middle bed, and that was just right. That's where Goldilocks was found napping. There was
right.
porridge that
Oh
was
my
too hot
gosh.
and porridge that was too cold,
That's
bed that
right.
was too
See?
soft, bed that was
Okay.
too hard. Okay, so the Goldilocks zone represents the sweet spot. Not too
Right.
much, not too little, the sweet
Just
spot.
right. Yeah.
Too little AI, I think we're in an era where we can start to say more confidently that too little AI in your life is going to lead to overwhelm and forgetfulness and potentially chaos, especially as more people are embracing AI around you, right?
Right.
Because
Mhm.
there is an argument out there that says the more AI that is used and implemented, say, at work, means there might stand to be an increased capacity for other people to get more stuff done faster. And the demands on you to do the same could go up, leading to more distraction, more defensiveness, more shame, more fear, all of the things. So, not understanding AI and not embracing a little bit of it to the extent that you need to could be, cause a deficit. Too
Right.
much AI, uh, over reliance leads to decision paralysis, leads to digital maladaptation, things we've talked about a lot before. So, what is the guardrail? How do you find the Goldilocks zone, the sweet
Yeah.
spot? AI is your wrench. It's a tool. It's not a crutch. It should not wholly replace something that you used to do, um, that you feel like you need to do as your job. For me, I write, I make podcasts.
Right.
I'm not going to use AI to replace my role in any of those functions,
Right.
right? And that's my sweet spot. So all of those other
Mhm.
tools, they aid me in research, they aid me in organization. They don't replace my voice or my fingertips.
Right.
That's my sweet spot.
Yeah.
Everybody has to do that on their own. So if AI helps you start, focus, or finish, keep it. If AI becomes another distraction, ditch it. Start, focus, or finish, or distraction. That's where I stand on AI. Any questions?
No, I mean, I think that this is good because this is some of the conversation I had earlier is that,
Hmm.
how does it help you specifically? And if it's
Hmm.
helping you, then that's a positive thing. That's a good
Right.
thing. It's
Right.
helping you move along whatever that goal is or whatever. But I also it resonates when you say that it's too early to understand it really, like, fully. Like, there's so much to it. It's so complex and, yeah, there's just a lot to
Yeah.
it to learn.
I would like to transition from that to just really kind of summarize what I use. I don't know
Mhm.
if people are interested in that, but
Oh,
I'll
I'm
I
pretty
just
sure
want
they're
to
interested, Pete.
outline outline what I use. Um, I for my day to day, I am a Grammarly subscriber.
Me too.
Okay, so
I
Grammarly
love
has
Grammarly.
it's pretty good, right? Grammarly
I
has
think it's
AI
great.
function working in it, and I use AI for its grammar and spelling and syntax.
Yes.
I don't accept everything that Grammarly suggests because
Me neither.
sometimes Grammarly's just wrong. But
Wrong or it doesn't sound like you
yes,
or me. It's not my voice. Like,
exactly.
I wouldn't say it this way, so I'm not putting it in there.
Because sometimes I say things wrong. Sometimes I say
Yeah.
things that my English professor would have graded me down on, but that's how I sound, and I'm usually doing it for a reason.
Right.
Grammarly doesn't understand subtext. It doesn't understand sarcasm. It doesn't understand any of that stuff. And
Yeah.
that's sometimes where I live. So I like the idea of having this thing sitting over my shoulder, looking at the words that I write, and just reminding me with those little flags that say, hey, take a look at this again. Just
Mhm.
look
Mhm.
at this again. So Grammarly is a standard. I've been subscribing to Grammarly for years. It's very, very helpful. For research, we talked yesterday in our last episode last week about Perplexity AI. I use Perplexity AI for research purposes because I find that its linking is one of the best. I think that it is a super useful tool for allowing me to have kind of threaded conversations with the research. I love
Mhm.
that part. And when I copy the responses from Perplexity and I put them in Obsidian because I use Obsidian to kind of put all my notes together, it gives me all a numbered list of all of the links just at the bottom. So every link that I talk about on a show, it's already in my note because it's in Perplexity. It makes it very, very easy to retrace my steps.
Mhm.
I can see the resources very quickly. That's very useful for me. And for research purposes, I want to be able to validate and verify that it's not making stuff up, that it's interpreting the source material correctly. I think that we are in an era more now than ever of trust but verify, right?
Right.
It's great that these tools can do this, but if you are, I'll go through a string of days where every Google search I do begins with a lie. I don't know why. Sometimes I go through search after search after search, and the AI section at the top is just wrong. And
Interesting.
let me remind you of the Gell-Mann amnesia effect. This is Murray Gell-Mann and Michael Crichton writing about this idea that you open the newspaper and you read an article about something that you know a lot about. So in your case, it would be ADHD coaching, and the newspaper is just full of incorrect things. It's just wrong, and you
Right.
know that because you're an expert in the field.
Yeah.
The same newspaper, you turn the page after swearing up and down, I hate this thing. It's so wrong. Why do they print this filth? You turn the page, and now you're reading an article about some high tech thing. You don't know
Mhm.
anything about high tech. You don't truck in that universe. You're not an expert in the field. And what do you think about that article in the
I
same
assume it's
newspaper?
true.
You assume it's true, right?
Yes.
That's Gell-Mann amnesia. And it's called,
Wow.
he also calls it the wet streets cause rain paradox, right? If you know stuff about the stuff you're searching for and you see that AI at the top and it's just wrong, it sticks out to you. But if you don't know anything about what you're searching for, it looks absolutely true. And
Fine.
this
Yeah.
is a horrible place for us to be. And it's a horrible thing for Google to inflict on us. And I hate it because it flies absolutely in the face of everything we're talking about. Trust but
Right.
verify. And Google used to be this great blossoming
Trustworthy.
beautiful flower
Yeah.
of just give me the links, man, and now it's just
Yeah.
destroyed. So remember, if nothing else from this, remember Gell-Mann amnesia, please, uh, because it's a worldview that will help you. It will help
Yeah.
you. Anyway, I use
Yeah.
Perplexity. That
Wow.
was a long rant about why the links are important, right? But
The
Perplexity,
links are
that's next
but
on the
it's
list.
important. Trust
Yeah,
but verify because you just
trust but
don't
verify.
know. You don't know. Yeah.
Yep, yep. Okay, next, Poe.com. Now, why
Poe.
Poe? I love Poe. I pay for Poe.
I pay
Poe
for
is
Poe
as
because you told
you
me
pay for
to.
Poe. We pay for
Uh-huh.
Poe. Pete
I
pays
pay
for
for
Poe.
Poe.
We're Poe
Who does?
payers.
We're Poe pairs.
Pete does.
Yes.
We're Poe payers.
Yes.
Poe is useful because it gives you access to all the models that you can think of, and it's
Mhm.
usually very, very current. So Google, OpenAI, they release an updated model. It's usually a day or two, and that model is now represented in Poe, and it's just a chat box. You choose which model you want to talk to, and you start typing to it. You can drag documents into it. You can drag pictures into it. You can do all kinds of wonderful things with it. Now, this is what they call API access to these models. So if you were to be a Google AI Gemini subscriber, or an Anthropic subscriber, or a OpenAI ChatGPT subscriber, you would have separate apps for those, and they have more features. One of the things we were talking about yesterday, another tool I use is Google's Notebook LM. These are
Right.
features where you can drag documents into uh, these apps, the first party apps, and save them there, and then interview them later, right? The collection of your data. You can't do that with Poe. Poe is much more of a kind of real time. Here's a thing a problem I have,
Right. Right.
and I want you to help me solve that problem. And so you got to kind of make your choice. If you find that the very best model for you is Anthropic's Claude, subscribe to Claude and live there. That's fine. They're doing great, great work. I have prioritized, because I use so many different models, I prioritized access to be able to trial and error different models and compare responses. And I love that. I love that
Yeah.
function. It's like a Swiss Army knife versus a paring knife. So
Mm-hmm.
the paring knife is great, but the Swiss Army knife gives me little tiny lots of tools.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
that's Poe. And why I'm a fan of Poe. Next, we mentioned Coda.io. It has AI built into it. I use that AI extensively for things like managing databases. It is a sort of a single function, or not single function. It's a multifunction tool, but the way it works on databases and allows me to fill columns and calculate with AI is really very special. And
And
it
that's probably really
changes the way I think
helpful
about it. Yeah.
in your work because of all the
Yes.
podcasts that you have to manage.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And speaking of niche tools, I use Adobe Voice Enhancer, which is bonkers. You remember me from the old days when somebody would show up with bad audio, like they would have crappy
Oh, yes.
audio.
Bothered you.
I mean, there are times where we've rescheduled and said we can't
Right.
record with you. Your audio is terrible. I don't
Yeah.
say that anymore. I just don't say
Because
that
you have
anymore.
something fancy.
I have something fancy. So, True Story is a Creative Cloud subscriber for Adobe's Creative Cloud, and part of that what you get is Adobe Voice Enhancer, which allows you to take a raw audio file and that's terrible. Maybe it was recorded in a construction zone, maybe it was recorded on a speakerphone, whatever. It's terrible audio, and it's able to, with its AI model, to detect what is principally voice, separate the background, and rebuild the voice only with no reverb, backing noise, chime sounds, anything, and give you a new track of that person. And it sounds like they're in a studio.
Wow.
Wow is right.
Wow.
It's incredible. It's incredible. This is the kind of machine learning sort of AI application that really matters to me. It's
Right.
not it's not something that's,
That
it's not
everyone's going to care about.
right, not something everyone's going to care about, but it solves a very specific problem. It is the coolest wrench I have
Right.
because it makes the finished product better. It doesn't
So much
change what
better.
we said at all. It's not creating the words, it's just creating the sound
And making
that
it
I
sound
want.
better.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Right.
So I
Interesting.
absolutely adore these niche tools. And I think that's what we're going to find. You've got to be able to look at your specific industry and figure out, what is the AI tool that's going to be my biggest wrench? What is the
Mhm.
thing that's going to allow me to perform better and and amplify my contribution to
Yeah.
my work, to my life, to my family? Because those, if they're not there for you already, they are coming. It's
Yeah.
amazing.
This was so great.
I hope so. It feels a little, I'm not gonna lie to you, it feels a little scattershot. I hope that it comes across as clear, and that people it inspires some thinking, and I hope it's well received.
I think for me, it's very well received and very informational because I know things on a base level, but I've learned a lot,
Mhm.
and it makes me want, like, I'm curious to go into some of these, like to go into Poe and be a little more creative and do some things different than what I've done, just to see
Mhm.
what happens. And so for me, it's been very inspiring, and I hope that others do feel that way and that they can find it that they can find it exactly as you've been saying. It's a wrench in a toolbox, and how do you make that work for you to make your life a little bit easier? And I think there's so many things that it has potential to do to make that daily life easier. So I appreciate it, and I have a feeling that this is not going to be the last conversation that we will have on this. So
I think you're probably right, and I look forward to those conversations. I think this is a really interesting space right now, and I think there are
yeah,
tools to come that we can't even imagine that are gonna be enabled by this technology, so get ready,
get
and,
ready.
yeah, thanks everybody
Good
for
stuff.
hanging out. We
Thank
appreciate you
you.
downloading and listening to this show. Thank you for your time and your attention. Don't forget, if you have something to contribute to the conversation, we're heading over to the Show Talk channel in our Discord server, and you can join us right there by becoming a supporting member at the deluxe level or better. On behalf of Nikki Kinzer, I'm Pete Wright, and we'll see you right back here next week on Taking Control, the ADHD podcast.
Dun,
Okay,
dun, dun,
I
dun.
have another tip for the members
Oh, for the members.
around
Members only
prompt
tip,
engineering.
guys.
Yeah. If you are a writer of any sort, and you have one of these bots. I'll just take ChatGPT for example. I if I want to write in a very specific style that is mine, and I have an example of my past writing, I take that example and I drop it into ChatGPT. And my prompt is, hey ChatGPT, uh, this is an example of my writing. I want you to learn this example. So go ahead and describe, how would you characterize this sample in such a way that I could tell you later to write a new document in that exact same style? And ChatGPT will spit out a detailed description of not what you wrote, but how you wrote it. And then you take that, put it into Text Expander, and before each of your new prompts where you're writing something, you add that prompt. So you can say, "Hey, this is the style that I want you to write in," and then tell it what to do.
I'm
What do you
writing
think
all
about
this down.
what do you think about that?
So I have a question because, again,
Sure.
this is something that's so I just don't know a lot about. So in Poe, I use the creative writing a lot. The one that just says creative writing. I don't know what bot it is. Just says creative writing.
I'm gonna tell you, you should not use that. You should not
Really?
use that one. Right.
Which one should I use?
You should use one of the official bots,
Oh,
ChatGPT 4.0 latest or Claude 3.5 or 3.7. They have a little official tag on it.
okay. Good to
The
know.
creative writing, it's just somebody else who tuned another bot to make it, to add a few prompts to it. But that's what we're doing. So as long as you're prompt engineering, use the official bots
Okay, well, that's good
to
to
get
know
better
because I
responses.
didn't know that. I
Yeah.
saw creative writing and I thought, great, I
Hmm.
want to be creative. So
Yeah.
that's why I chose it. So I'll go to one of the other ones.
Hmm.
So what I'm wondering is, I'm kind of, well, this actually is great because I'm going to be starting over, right? Because I'm starting over with a new model that doesn't
Hmm.
know me. And so if I put in a blog post and I do exactly what you just said,
Hmm.
um, and to get to the point where what are you doing? Prompting what? What's it called?
Prompt engineering.
Prompt engineering.
Hmm.
Then I need to keep using that same um chat thing.
No, no. And in fact, this is a thing about Poe that is important to understand. Poe operates on credits, right? You get 1,000,000 credits every month. And every time you send a message, it uses those credits. And some bots are more expensive than others because they're smarter, they're faster, whatever. If you don't do, at the bottom of Poe in the chat box, there's a little paintbrush that says clear context. If you don't clear context, then every time you hit return, every message you send is essentially sending the whole thing, the whole chat history. And
To everything.
that'll
To everyone.
influence not only the expense of that chat, but the responses that you get. So what you end up needing to do is, if you're changing topics, just hit clear context and you're starting fresh.
But okay, but I don't want to
Sometimes
do that
sometimes
if I am
sometimes you
trying
want,
to
right.
if I'm
So,
trying
like, for
to
example,
engineer it.
well, your engineering, yeah, exactly. But your engineering may create different responses if you don't clear context. So if you want to get to clean prompts, sometimes you do need to clear context and say, I need a blank slate and start with a new prompt without the baggage of prompts that you don't
Everything
like.
else.
The other thing you can do is be very specific and tell it, like, hey, I would very much like to create a prompt that I can use in the future that will achieve X result. Help me build a prompt that will do that I can copy and paste in here and will actually give me the response that I'm looking for. The Susan says, can you repeat the prompt about writing style description in ChatGPT? Yeah, I mean, you just drag your favorite piece of writing that you've ever used into ChatGPT and say, please describe the style and tone of this writing. I would like you to build a prompt that I can use to train future requests to write in the exact same style, and see what happens. And I'll do some of these at Coffee with Pete this week
Tomorrow.
on Friday. Yeah, tomorrow. I'll share the screen and we'll throw some prompts in there and see what people see.
I can go. I can actually go. I'm going to be there.
I'll definitely do the film report one because I worked hard on building that prompt, and it's very, very useful. Cool.
So I
What
guess
else we have?
I'm still unclear about like using the clearing the context, because if you do that, then are you starting all over again?
Yeah.
But why would I want to do that? I don't see any reason why I would want to start over again.
Well, it depends on how you handle it. Like, I have one chat that is for film analysis, right?
Mhm.
And I do a whole bunch of research on one movie, but that can get expensive if you keep that ongoing conversation and never clear context, and then you change the subject. That's really all we're talking about, is when you change the
Oh,
subject and you want to start a new conversation, clear the context to just clean out the memory and make it all fresh.
okay. I think that's
Does that
where
make
my
more sense?
disconnect was. Yeah.
Okay.
And I've never cleared the context or the content.
You can
Context.
actually, in Poe, you can actually, every bot that you create, you can rename for a purpose. So, you call it, website copy, and then create another new bot or another new chat, even with the same bot, and name it something else. So now you have subjects that this is the bot that I use for this. This is the one that I use for that. And it helps you kind of keep your
Yeah.
work straight.
Yeah. That's great. I'm asking
Yeah,
all the questions. Does anybody
I
else
know.
have questions?
Is clearing context different than clearing out the memory of who you are and that's been building and saving? It is. You are clearing out everything. When you clear the context, you're clearing out everything, even who you are. Brian H. has a link from the good David Sparks, Mac Sparky. One of my favorite workflows is to give Claude something I've written and ask it to pose thoughtful questions about the content. Those questions often spark new ideas or help me identify gaps in my thinking. I think that is a fantastic observation. And I do love, love, love having a brainstorming partner. And I often talk to it like a
Yeah.
brainstorming partner. I say, hey, I need to brainstorm a new idea for a post or an article or something. Are you ready to work with me? And it says, yeah, I'm really ready. And I say, okay, here we go. And we just go back and forth like I'm talking to somebody.
Well, and I just want to tell the GPS folks that are here watching. So during our study hall today, I was using it for our reflection questions, and I was asking it to form some reflection questions on the topic that I did all of the pre-engineering stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And the questions that came back, because I gave it more information, I
Yeah,
kept thinking about you saying, give it, give it, give it, give it more. I didn't have to change any of the questions.
I know, right?
They were really good.
They're really good.
So you guys look on, next week, look
Yeah.
at those reflection questions. Those were AI generated,
I
but approved by me. They were verified and approved
they were
by
very
me.
trust
So
and verify. Yeah. I got to answer Carla's question. If you clear the context, I assume you need to copy and save everything needed, or poof, all gone. Or wouldn't it be better just start a new chat? Either one, but I will tell you, if you clear the context in Poe, all it does is scoot everything up and draw a line that says you cleared the context, and it has a little undo button next to it. So it doesn't erase your history. It just moves it up like just here's a line, and everything new comes after that. That's helpful.
yeah, it is.
Ooh,
Like
I
the
like the
scoot.
scoot. Let's see. What else do we have? Any other questions? I use Poe, but I don't pay for it. I feel like I don't use it enough to warrant paying for it. I never even get close to my daily limit. Well, maybe after this little series, Melissa, you will
You
find new
may
ways to
change your
use it.
mind.
And
Yeah.
yeah, hit that limit. Trust but verify. Favorite saying of mine across many contexts. Yes, Brian, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, this is really what we've created in AI. We've created just an entire layer of technology that is a generally unreliable narrator, right? And I think that's the line I've crossed with it, that it's so good for brainstorming, for ideating, for those creative projects, but it is uh it's just not quite there for facts yet. And that's
Yeah.
partially because so few of these models actually have the web in them. And
Yeah.
once all of that is unleashed, and that's coming in all of the new models that are coming, they're going to be web accessible, which means you're going to be able to ask questions. And if it's wrong, it's because the web was wrong, right? Your
Mhm.
Google search was wrong. So
Mhm.
oh, Carla, for crying out loud. If I could get Poe money, that sweet, sweet Poe money, oh yeah. I take that in a heartbeat. And I really do. I use Poe because again of the Swiss Army knife, but I recommend the big platforms. I also, because we're a Google Workspace space organization, have access to Google Gemini. I have that on my phone. Um, and so I use all of as many of the first uh, um, the big apps that I can,
Mhm.
um, that I'm paying for. But Poe is just, it's the easiest and fits my needs.
I think that from my perspective, one of the things that makes it helpful for me too is because I am an expert on ADHD, that if I'm
Mhm.
asking it something about ADHD, or I'm asking it to give me ideas on how to break a project down if I have ADHD, for example, like I could do something like that. Like because I'm an expert, I know what I would want to pull out of it and what I wouldn't. And for me, it's more of like a memory thing. Like, I just want to remember what are some of the good
Yeah,
strategies without having to like look at all of the books and go through all of my seminars that I've ever done, or, and then I can kind of pick and choose and say, oh, this would be a good blog post. And,
yeah,
so some of it, I mean, I think it is that kind of brainstorming idea for me a lot, because I know if it's telling me the truth, if it's about
yeah,
ADHD,
right.
or if it's a strategy that I think is good or not. Like I already know that. I'm not asking it to tell me those things.
Yeah,
I'm asking it to help me brainstorm what I want to talk about next.
right.
Yeah.
creativity, pattern recognition, those like structuring data, those are the things that it's really, really good at. And answering facts, it's not. I kind of
No.
wish we generally, humanity, would stop, at least for right now, using how well does AI answer specific questions as a measure for success, because that's not what it's great at, right? That's not,
Mhm.
you're asking it to do something it's not good at doing.
Mhm.
It's like asking a brick wall, why aren't you a door? You know what I mean? Like that's just, it doesn't work. But as soon as you find where you, as an expert in your field, can use this thing to make your work and your life better, your wrenches, man, you can sing with it. You can
Yeah.
just sing with it. So
Thank you,
that's all,
Pete. Thank you,
all I got.
everyone. This was
Thanks
great.
for hanging out, everybody. And
Thank you, everyone.
we'll see you next week, regular time.
Yep.